Hello, everyone! Blue Star Saber here with...
Dun 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 dun. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, it's me, Lucky Chi, here to strike down blue.
No. Anyway, you strike me down and I'll be more powerful than you can possibly imagine, Lucky Chi.
That's what he wants y'all to think. That's what he wants y'all to think.
Anyway.
Well, I'll just say this. I'll continue what I said the other stream. Disney, y'all fucked up.
Oh boy, we'll get to that in a minute. But yes, we are continuing our review of Obi Wan Kenobi. Now, it seems that instead of doing an episode by episode, we're doing what we did with the premiere, and this time we're reviewing 2 episodes again, episode 3 and episode 4. And boy, what a bunch of episodes they are! Caused quite a lot of controversy in the Star Wars fandom.
I'll say this: given the trend we've been doing 2 episodes per stream, I would not be surprised if we end up just saving this week's episode for the finale. Wouldn't be surprised about that.
5 and episode 6. Mm-hmm. Well, it depends, I guess, if you want to do that, or
I guess it'll depend on like what happens with 5. Which, for anybody curious why we didn't do the episode stream on the 3rd one, well, I saw episode 3 and I was like, I need to sit on episode 3 because it was something.
But yeah, fair enough. For those who may not know, or have not been paying attention to the internet, Obi Wan Kenobi has probably become the most controversial Star Wars media-related thing since The Last Jedi.
Is that possible? Making something as controversial as the sequel trilogy? I'm in shock.
Yeah. Well, it happened, which I must admit. And funny enough, it ends up being Obi Wan Kenobi. But yes, depending on who you ask, people either love this series or they absolutely hate it. Let's see. There's no. Let's see. As you could tell,
middle ground.
Middle ground, as you know, only Siths deal in absolutes.
You're either on the high ground or you're on the lava ground. Right? Who catches that reference? Good on you.
Yes. Poor Star Wars prequel meme references. But yes. And let's see, not to mention some very tense debates that if you're not with me, you're my enemy. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Of course.
Yeah. But yes, there's been quite a lot
After all, you brought him here to kill me. I'm done. You see, guys, this is what happens when you get 2 prequel fans here talking about a stream.
Yeah, so let's see, but let's see, interesting. Let's see. Now, depending on who you ask, like I said, you either love these episodes or you hate them and all that stuff. There's all been kinds of gritty controversy and also discussions on behind the scenes and all that stuff. Let's see, I'm not sure if we should probably talk about those first or should we save those for after the episode.
What would you want to do?
Well, people are here to hear our thoughts on Obi Wan Kenobi episode 3 and episode 4, so I think it's best to get to the summary.
Yes.
So anyway, episode 3 begins with Obi Wan trying to connect with Qui-Gon and all that stuff, but at the same time, Anakin Skywalker is putting on his suit, and I think even Obi-Wan senses it. And we get the first view of Darth Vader in the iconic armor for the first time. In a conference with the 3rd sister, who Darth Vader is not entirely happy about Kenobi escaping, but she assures him that they will find him and all that stuff. And Vader knows what she desires most, apparently, and it's apparently she is after the role of Grand Inquisitor, as apparently she reports that Obi-Wan Kenobi had killed the Grand Inquisitor, which in itself is one of the main controversies of the show. But yeah, anyway, that ends up being the case. And let's see, hold on. Which she ends up going to tell the fifth brother and fourth sister, and we learn that, let's see, the fifth brother is supposed to be the next in line to inherit the Grand Inquisitor position. However, due to the fact that she has gone to talk to Vader about it, and the fact that, let's see, she's making sure that their priority is Kenobi, ends up silencing the brother, continuing the rivalry. All right, I'm just getting the Wikipedia page just because it's got more detailed summary than the Wikipedia's page. All that stuff. Anyway, the cargo bay lands on the planet, I believe, called Mapazu, a sort of minus planet, if you will. Let's see. Well, granted, some, I believe, have criticized this to being another desert sand-like planet, but
let me think. We have Jakku, we have Tatooine. Well, if you want my justification on this, Star Wars tradition. Let's just sum it up to that. Just Star Wars tradition. You gotta have a desert planet.
Now, granted, I thought there was enough originality for this one, but I guess that's just me. But yeah.
I'm not thinking it's a bad thing, but if that's what people are complaining about, then...
Oh yeah, I should also probably mention that Darth Vader was on his headquarters in his base in Mustafar.
Can I just say that whole beginning sequence left me with chills? I just want to say that right now.
Fair enough. Anyway, Obi-Wan and Leia at the rendezvous point, waiting for, let's see, this sort of help that the fake Jedi from the last episode, I've forgotten his name, but well. Then again, it's been a while since I've seen the episode, so I haven't watched it enough times to remember every single detail just yet. However, Obi-Wan seems to think that, he lied, I knew I shouldn't trust him. But Leia, being the more optimistic, thinks that, let's see, they should just probably wait a bit. However, a transporter with a sort of alien by the name of, what's he named? Freck, which is, hold on, let me just, Freck, which, actually doesn't say what type of alien species he is. But he has a transport shuttle, which Obi-Wan and Leia lie that they are farmers and all that stuff, and even use fake names, though I can't remember the exact fake names that they use and all that stuff. But he offers them a lift and all that stuff, and let's see if we see in the back on the truck, on the speeder thing, it's got the symbol of the Empire showing that this alien driver is, well, pro-Imperial, it seems, which is a bit surprising, but... oh, yeah, and apparently the character is portrayed in costume by John Resigant and voiced by Zach Braff, who I think is a comedian or something.
I believe so. A lot of the actors I've noticed are well, besides McGregor and Hayden Christensen, most of them are pretty comedic based from what I've noticed.
Oh, okay. He's the voice of BoJack the Horseman.
Okay.
I believe that's that Talking Horseman, let's see, show on Netflix. At least from what I'm seeing, I mean, I only know bits and pieces. I only seen clips of it, let's see, so I'm not too fussed about it. But yeah, Zach is pretty pro-Imperial, which Leia get. The funny joke about Leia going, pro-Empire, yo, and all that stuff, where Obi-Wan's making the fabrication that they've gone to see Leia's mother's home planet, as she sadly passed away, so they're visiting relatives and all that stuff. Meanwhile, during the stop, they are, the guy ends up picking a bunch of stormtroopers who end up searching for, like a Jedi and all that stuff. Let's see. As Obi-Wan's trying to keep the quiet talk, he accidentally ends up saying Leia's actual name and all that stuff when she starts chatting a bit too much, sort of nearly blowing their cover before, making a bit of a setup where, where Obi-Wan reveals that, okay, Leia decides to say that Leia is his daughter's mother's name, and that stuff, and she ends up mistaking Leia for her, and he acts it very well and all that stuff, that Leia starts to suspect that Obi-Wan Kenobi actually did know who her mother is once the stormtroopers have left and all that stuff. And she begins to ask, interesting, if Obi-Wan Kenobi is possibly her father. And he says no, though he wouldn't mind if that was the case and all that stuff. And so,
I know that's where one controversy came in. I did hear about that. I was just like,
oh, that probably brought up a bunch of Obi-Wan Padme Ritzy versus Anakin Padme shippers.
Always with the ships.
Yeah.
Always with the ships.
Yeah, well, granted, I'm pretty certain that Star Wars, well, until the sequel trilogy, didn't really have tense shipping wars, because I'm pretty certain, well, by the time that the internet happened, most people have already accepted Han and Leia, and not enough time to question the whole Luke and Leia twins kind of situation. Well,
and I mean, with the prequels, it was primarily just Anakin and Padme. That was it.
Well, that and more people were more complaining about the dialogue, such as "I don't like sand" and all that stuff. Let's see.
If that somehow finds its way back into Obi-Wan and they actually make it work, that's gonna be amazing.
Well, one thing that Obi-Wan Kenobi has managed to avoid somehow, which depending on who you ask, either would love it or hate it, the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people have not liked Ritzy Kenobi, but at least think that this is the one thing they've done. It's the fact they have not brought up any of the prequel meme lines for fan service yet. Instead,
keyword is yet. That's the keyword.
Now, will they do so in episodes 5 or 4? I mean, 5 and 6?
5 and 6.
Let's see. At the moment, who knows? At the moment,
I'll say it's like 45-55. 45% chance it does happen, 55% chance it doesn't happen.
But at the moment, I'm probably convinced like that probably not, or at least if they do, they're only going to use like one line. But they've managed to avoid the "hello there." But yeah. But yeah, that's what it is and all that stuff. Anyway, they eventually arrive to like one of the sort of like gates for the mind kind of thing, where it reveals that Freck is a bit suspicious of them. So as he tells the stormtroopers, Obi-Wan, worried about inspection as the probe droid comes up, and just as it identifies it, he shoots it. A bunch of the stormtroopers as well, knocks out, the Freck. Alien, the Freck, sort of like a snouty-like alien, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And shoots the last stormtrooper as it tries to hold Leia hostage. And one of them ends up being sliced by the gate thing, which was like pretty... They went there.
I'm gonna be honest here. When I saw that, I was like, did they actually get away with that? That kind of shocked me for a second. I was like, okay, I know Clone Wars has done it, but not in live action here.
Never seen a maiming like that in live action, yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what your reaction was, Blue, but I was just like,
let's see.
Okay,
it's like, wow, that's dark. And unlike Darth Maul, he's not coming back.
Well, he did, and he didn't, technically.
Yeah, but that's a whole other can of worms. But anyway, just as they think it's safe, another shuttle with a bunch of Imperials arrive. An Imperial officer with 3 stormtroopers gets them to surrounded. They look like they're going to have to surrender. However, the Imperial officer ends up shooting the stormtroopers, revealing herself to be someone called Tala, who's a spy for like the underground resistance to the Empire's Force Snatchers or something like that. Tala Durif and all that stuff are part of an organization called the Path, in which helps Jedi and Force youngling and Force sensitives escape from the clutches of the Empire.
Yep.
As she heads them to the mining farm area, in which she reveals that she was like once part of the Empire's cause, but once she found out what they were like, she became deluded and became a spy from within, and her mission like that. We also get a little witsy moment when Leia tries to bond with like another sort of mining droids there, but this droid has not been given the ability to speak for the sole purpose of functioning, but it does have enough of a personality to support Tula and help Leia and Obi-Wan and all that stuff as they end up hiding in the sort of secret room. And Obi-Wan ends up noticing quite a few Jedi markings and even notices the markings of Quillen Vos. Did you not hear that?
I heard. I was just trying to figure out how to give my thoughts on that. I was like, that was kind of surprising in a good way. Surprising in a good way.
Let's see. We'll probably get into a bit more about who Quillen Vos is in a bit later. But I think there's also other names as well, such as Corin Hoff's father, apparently.
Yep. That's another
apparently, I've heard some people theorize that Corin Hoff was the little kid from the last episode, from the fake Jedi and all that stuff.
That's entirely possible.
But yeah. Anyway, just as they're about to leave, though, granted that not before having a stormtrooper inspection there, the droid had like a hammer in its arm ready to hit thing and all that stuff. But anyway, a bit later, as it grows dark and just they're about to leave, after Leia sort of starts to bond a bit with Tula about how, can you teach me how to do a blaster and all that stuff? Which, who knows? I think
here's my thing. I think we're gonna get something like that at some point before this whole thing ends.
Well, I know she might have even given Leia the advice on how to have a blaster socket thing and all that stuff. It's like, But then again, I'm not sure if that's a very deep detail because I can't recall how Leia used to draw her blasters.
True.
But yeah, so it might be like, draw from the side and all that stuff because it's quicker. But as about to leave, Obi-Wan senses a presence, and it reveals none other than Darth Vader being here with both of the 3 remaining Inquisitors we've seen for the series and all that stuff.
I got an interesting thing to say. So at first, when I saw him, I was like, "Isn't this a little too soon?" And then I was like, "Wait, there's 6 episodes. That actually makes sense for him to show up right now."
Yes, Darth Vader in all his glory as Obi-Wan sees his former apprentice for the first time and what he has become.
To be fair, I'll be honest. I thought they were gonna save the whole them seeing each other until like the very last part, but
oh yeah. Well, granted, I did forgot to mention that there was a little ritzy image of Obi-Wan having a vision of younger Anakin when he first turned to the dark side and all that stuff. I forgot to mention that.
And by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, that's not archive footage. That's actually that was actually shot.
Yeah.
So
let's see. Your boy Hayden Christensen has at least one confirmed scene as his old self in this film.
I was like, that's him. And then I was just like, it's only gonna be that one scene though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yes, anyway, so anyway, as Darth Vader is trying to expect, he ends up, holding up people, strangling them, snapping their necks, dragging them.
Their necks.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's mostly to one father, the boy trying to come to the father's aid, then snapping the neck, and then the mother grieving, and then they're just dragging another person. Blimey, he'll see him being ruthless. Over Obi-Wan needing to give Leia and Tula more time, ends up distracting them and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ends up deciding to stay behind and distract Vader enough to draw him away, and he'll come and escape them later. And that takes them to like a quarry area where Kenobi and Vader face each other for the first time. However, Obi-Wan, instead of Ritzy activating his lightsaber, ends up Ritzy trying to run away a bit, and only really using his lightsaber as a torchlight thing.
Yeah.
However, eventually Vader catches up to him, and they clash, with Obi-Wan asking, "What have you become?" And Vader saying, "I am what you've made me."
Dude, I'm not gonna front with you. As soon as he said that, I was just like, shit. He went there.
Yep. So yeah, they end up clashing for a bit, while the Inquisitors end up inspecting the building, inspecting the area and all that stuff. With Leia end up at just as Leia and Tula midway thing, Leia asks Tula to go help Obi-Wan and all that stuff, or Ben as she knows him at this point. And Tula reluctantly agrees to do so, but tells her to meet a pilot there once they arrive and all that stuff, and heads out. While the third sister eventually, and during this time, ends up discovering like the hidden room and all that stuff. As Obi-Wan and Vader continue their clash. Eventually, Vader is is having the upper hand because Obi-Wan has not fought since 10 years ago, with Vader mocking him about how weak he's become and telling him how he should have killed him when he had the chance.
I mean, he ain't wrong.
So finally, decides to pushes him up, holds him to the air. Witsy next to a gasoline thing, uses his lightsaber to ignite her on fire. And then
have we ever seen a lightsaber do that? Because the first time I saw that, it kind of surprised me. I was like, okay, I know we've seen lightsabers do a lot of things, but
no, I
don't recall ever doing that.
I have never seen it used to ignite a gas to create fire. I'll be honest. This is probably the first time ever. Nor have I ever known any Star Wars lore to do so, but let's see. I guess Disney can do that if they want.
And let me be frank, guys. I'm not saying that's a complaint. I actually think that's kind of cool that a lightsaber could do that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. So Vader is not going to kill Obi-Wan straight away, and he tends to make him suffer as he drags him into the fire to burn his arm and all that stuff.
Very ironic.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. The most poetic revenge that Vader can think of. However, after a little bit of the fire, he puts it out. And then has a stormtrooper go to collect Obi-Wan and all that stuff. He's going to take him prisoner. However, Tuna arrives, shoots the stormtrooper, shoots the gas thing to cause even more fire, which ends up blocking Vader and the stormtroopers from retrieving Kenobi, as the mechanical droid ends up picking him up and dragging him back out to the safety and all that stuff, making sure that Obi-Wan is alive. Well, the episode ends with Leia reaching the ship thing, but is is stopped by the third sister. And who has killed the pilot that she was supposed to meet as she tries to run away from her, ending the episode. So, Lucky Chi, would you like to talk a bit more about this episode first, or would you like to get into episode 4 next? That's a hello. Be right back. Gee, Lucky Chi, this is the worst possible timing. The worst possible timing. Ooh, well, looks like I'm going to have to make the decision. Anyway, it looks like I'm going to have to. Okay, my overall thoughts in this episode. Blimey, I have to admit. What an episode. It's a pretty... Granted, I got a bit of spoilers about, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fighting each other because I couldn't help but search Obi-Wan Kenobi on YouTube, and there was already a clip of, Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader. It's like, oh my god, too soon. So I know they were going to fight, so for me, the rest of the episode was finding out, okay, how exactly are they going to fight? That's what social media is for you and all that stuff. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, it wasn't anything big. Except that.
Okay. Anyway, I've just made the decision to talk about our overall thoughts of the third episode.
Okay, I'm back just in time then.
So yeah. So your overall thoughts of this episode, Lucky Chi.
I know some people are going to take a silence as, there's something negative coming. And that's where I'm going to subvert expectations. Because I don't really have anything super negative to say about this episode. In particular...
Okay, fair enough.
Except...
Okay.
Maybe a quick little flashback scene to Anakin would have been nice, but that's me nitpicking.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's see, I have to admit, I'm a bit surprised they've yet to do an Anakin flashback. I figured that was one of the reasons why they were bringing Hayden Christensen back, to give us at least one or two flashbacks.
I mean, to be fair, we got him for like those few seconds when Obi-Wan's like just getting that vision of him, so it counts for something.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder, are the scenes where he's in the back tank, is that Hayden Christensen, or is that somebody
I
else?
think so.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Think so. Now, whether or not he's the one, if he's the man in the suit, I am not sure.
Yeah, I know, because when I look at him in the back tank, I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's Hayden. I'm pretty sure. So if we're gonna count the scenes where he's like healing and stuff, you could say, yeah, we've been seeing him, but I guess especially for us prequel fans, it'd be more appropriate if we actually see like, pre-burning, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, we have not really got much of the pre-burning Hayden's and Christensen Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
They might be in the suit, but it's very ambiguous if he is or not, because, well, it is Darth Vader's in the suit, and the only voice we're hearing is James Earl Jones, which, from my understanding, might not actually be him voicing it, but some sort of recording and all that stuff.
It is him, actually. He did say, because I looked it up just now, and James Earl Jones confirmed that he was the one who's voicing him, which I gotta say, no disrespect to James Earl Jones, but being 91 years old and still being able to pull it off, that's impressive.
Oh, yeah, it's impressive, and I definitely like the way he said some of the words, like, I am what you made me.
Well, it's interesting because I don't know about you, Blue, but that shows me that the side of Vader we're seeing right now is still Anakin talking. It's not the same Vader we've seen during, say,
Episode 4 to Episode 6.
Episode 4 to Episode 6. I mean, you could even argue Clone Wars too, because Clone Wars, or not Clone Wars, that Rebels, where he does seem like he's a little bit more reserved about how he tackles things, but I don't know.
Well, it's arguably, this is Vader in 10 years into his life and all that stuff. This is like, let's see, halfway through his lifetime and all that stuff. By the time that it's Rebels and all that stuff, we are quite close to the original trilogy and all that stuff. So,
yeah,
I wouldn't say he's fully gone and all that stuff. Though it might also be the fact that because it's Obi Wan Kenobi, he's just allowing those emotions to come through and all that stuff. The old Skywalker, because if there's one thing, let's see, because probably throughout, up until like between 3 and Episode 4, the one thing that Vader has probably drive Vader for this very long is to seek revenge against Obi Wan Kenobi for what
we can definitely see that.
on Mustafar.
Plus, this does also clear up something that's been heavily debated in the Star Wars fandom, which was the line Vader did say in "A New Hope" that I haven't felt his presence since ... which Obi-Wan's already kind of clearing up as like, all right, so it wasn't exactly Revenge of the Sith, which was the last time they fought. It was what we're getting right now.
Granted, let's see, some are wondering if this is a plot hole for the fact that, let's see, when Vader said, when I last left you, I was but the learner, but now I am the master and all that stuff, with some saying, like, given the fact that Vader is the master of the Inquisitors.
Yeah, well, what's your take on that, Blue? I actually want to get your thoughts on that, because I have seen that rolling around. I'm just like...
Okay. Let's see, well, technically, Vader is still like a Sith apprentice, so...
Yeah.
In many ways, you could argue that Vader is probably still learning from, let's see, Sidious, at least maybe some dark side techniques now and then and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, let's see, it's possibly by the time that A New Hope is, Darth Vader probably finds himself to be full-on Sith Lord by then.
True.
and thinks that he's become now more powerful enough to wipe out even Obi Wan Kenobi. So anyway, but yeah, I have to admit, let's see, I did get spoiled for the fight scene, but that's it. But before then, I do like how they did a montage of him putting. Let's see, we finally see how Vader puts on his suit and all that stuff. That was teased a little bit in Rogue One, but now we got it here.
We get in Rogue One. You kind of get it a little bit in Empire too, technically.
Yeah. But anyway, interesting enough. Let's see, Vader's castle. Did you like the? I'm just curious. Did you like the design of it and all that stuff?
Of course, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, because I mean,
I still get a little pissy when I think about the sequels, considering how that was never utilized again. But
let's see. Fair enough. Though I'm not sure if you know, but there has been some criticism by the production value of the show. And particularly like the Vader's castle, could see in the scenery and effects compared to that of Rogue One.
true. I mean, there is. I can't see it's like a huge contrast, but it's very minute in my opinion. I don't know. How do you feel?
Personally, I'm not really seeing too much about the effects being too bad. The only thing that in terms of camera action and choreography in this episode is the fact that I'm not exactly a fan of the shaky cams during the fighting bits. Let's see.
Yeah, that is one. I guess that is one nitpick I could bring up to. Like, yeah, maybe if it wasn't shaky, it would have been fine. But yeah.
Now, personally, I think the fighting scenes itself wasn't too bad and all that stuff. But yeah, I've seen some people complain about it.
I've seen a lot of people like when they're seeing this and they're looking at Rogue One and how Vader fights. They're like, how do we get from these things with Vader to how they fight in the original trilogy? And best thing I can come up with is, well, it wasn't exactly like a huge a huge super side. I was like, all right, this is how they're meant to fight because, well, Luke has kind of envisioned it differently from how it is now. So,
well, I'd probably say it's more of this product of the times.
yeah,
As I'm certain if George Lucas could do it, he would probably re-edited the fight scene.
Oh yeah,
in Episode 4. As
careful
we know,
now. Maybe if Lucas was able to get the rights back, maybe we could get the
the
editions.
The closest you're probably going to have to get is that fan-made, Obi-Wan versus Vader extension fight thing, which I think is sure you've seen on YouTube, right?
That was, oh my god, dude! I remember I just came across that randomly one, and I was just like, that's insane.
So yeah, that's probably what they. Let's see, who knows? Probably if A New Hope was being made today, that is probably what they would have done.
Oh, for sure.
But yes. Anyway, so Obi-Wan and Leia. Let's see. By the way, I'm still saying it now. Let's see. Leia is This is probably the perfect casting of a younger version of a character since Ewan McGregor.
I'm gonna still say what I said in the first episode. I love their dynamic.
Yeah, they can clearly tell that the dynamic is really well done here.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely like how I do like the contrast where Obi-Wan's the more pessimistic, less trusting, and all that stuff. Well, Leia's a bit more optimistic about that's it. I'm sure he had friends and all that stuff, and all that stuff. When Obi-Wan tries to get her to not do the talking, she ends up being the one to do the talking.
I mean, that's very. Here's the thing. That's very much like how Padme was. So I'm not that surprised how.
Like mother, like daughter, which ends up being brought up a bit when after Obi-Wan blows nearly blows their cover and all that stuff. Though granted, this is one of the scenes I have seen Star Wars fans criticize, saying that why didn't the stormtrooper ask to see identification?
It's true. The other thing is, I was going to say is like maybe the more optimistic side comes from how Anakin was back in Phantom Menace.
Possibly. No, I do. No, granted, let's see. No, granted, I suppose we said that the probably the only reason why. Let's see. One where they could have possibly tackled that was by Obi-Wan doing the Force thing, saying you don't need to see identification. Though, granted, if he did that, that would have been seen as pandering fan service.
I think it would have worked. It's funny because the funny thing is, I was actually expecting something like that. I was like, okay, as soon as the stormtrooper showed, I was like, come on, just just be in the moment.
One let's see let's see YouTube critic I know that has not been a fan of let's see Kenobi since like I guess episodes 2, 3, and 4. I think is that the one thing that the show has done well is not go to the pandering fan service. Which
That is true.
let's see. So yeah. Which let's see other Star Wars properties and even I guess you could say Marvel have become known to be criticized for. I guess you can even sometimes say Transformers does with like one shall stand, one shall fall, or Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost. Now let's see, as those lines end up being used in every sort of Transformer medium since the movie.
Right.
But yeah, so I do like that. But I do find it interesting how let's see. Their rider, Freck, is an alien that is pro-Empire. It's like, that's not really something you usually expect and all that stuff from, like, Star Wars aliens, because usually they're treated as second-class citizens in the Empire.
Rejoice! All hail to Palpatine.
Though it is interesting the fact that some aliens do actually support the Empire. Those are at least not from Thrawn's species, at least, but actually Thrawn's the only really exception. I mean, he's the only one.
That's true.
Let's see, because of like that's interesting, but it does give an insight how some ordinary citizens might view the Empire. The more pro ones are like, let's see, they're keeping the order and all that stuff, which some people might actually believe, and all that stuff, which. Frankly, I would probably not really support imperial occupation. But who knows? Now, granted, I have seen some people on social media make some commentary to the truck with the imperial flag to certain political things going on in America, but best to leave that out of this, I guess. But anyway. But yeah, but this episode has had quite a few dark moments, I will admit. Besides the stormtrooper being sliced in half by the field gate thing. Let's see, Darth Vader just pretty much strangling and killing people with the Force.
I mean, let's be fair. Given what we saw in Rogue One, I don't think that should be super surprising that he was able to do that, but you know.
Yeah, but but I'm surprised that Disney have let them get away with it. Especially the neck snap bit.
Maybe Disney knew. They were like, you know what? Our audience has grown up. They know.
No, I'm pretty certain that James would be like, oh, so we're not allowed to have Superman snapping snacks, but you're allowed to fanboy over Vader. If James watches this, he's probably going to have a go at me later.
He's going to be like, God damn it, Blue, you and Superman critiques.
Well, Man of Steel critiques.
I mean, I'm going to just say my piece. I like Man of Steel, but I will acknowledge there were some things that were taken a little bit too extreme. I will say that. It's not a perfect movie, but...
Well, to be honest, Lucky, I am neither anti nor pro Man of Steel. I've just not seen it. I've only seen it once.
That's fair.
Anyway, we get moving back from Man of Steel to Star Wars now and all that stuff. So yeah, and also Vader burning Obi-Wan alive. That was pretty good.
See, the second I saw that, I was like, it got me, and then I was like, wait a second, hold on, I gotta remember New Hope, so obviously it was gonna be fine.
Yeah, let's see. We find that in the next episode, but yeah, but interesting. There is a bit of a controversy with the scene with when Tula ends up rescuing
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, she ends up, shooting the fire tank thing and all that stuff, causing a bit of fire, with many people thinking, like, why doesn't Vader just force Ritzy, push it away, and goes and retrieve Kenobi? He's after him, which did lead to a bunch of speculation that Vader let him go so he could fight him either at his full strength or lead him to the path, to like the path organization and all that stuff. But the next episode kind of made that not the case. So it seems the production, it seems the production here made it seem a bit, well, why can he just do this and all that stuff?
True.
I mean, granted, there was perhaps more fire than it let on, but clearly they should have perhaps maybe done a bit more attempts of, like, Vader attempting to cross it, but couldn't do that and all that stuff. Or even trying to...
No, that's the thing, because I saw the amount of fire, and I was like, hold on. When I saw Anakin burning, like, that was, like, covering his entire body. This was, like, going beyond that. In that sense, I was like, now, I know there's fire around Obi-Wan. I know it's kind of around him, but I'm kind of just like, I don't know. Those burns should have been more severe than...
I have seen Star Wars fans, the ones that have hated Kenobi a lot, have very nitpicked this scene and all that stuff.
I mean, what's your take on it? I mean, I know I kind of nitpicked it too, but logistically speaking, it is kind of like, so Anakin kind of gets his body burned, but Obi-Wan gets like a whole host of fire around him, and then boom.
Well, no, it's not. No, it's not really. Well, I'm fine. No, I think that bit is fine. It's more of the escape bit. Let's see, why doesn't Vader go through the fire or not put out the fire that people are complaining about?
That's fair.
Let's see. Sorry, I'm not sure. Did you not understood what I was referring to that?
No. I was getting to that point actually, but when you brought that up, I was like, well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, let's see. Obi-Wan being burned on the arm thing. Okay, yes, it was probably just. Let's see. Probably should have gone some permanent burns, but clearly the next episode reveals why that probably wasn't the case and all that stuff. But also probably it wasn't done to the extent that Darth Vader was happened. But yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, now getting on to what I was actually saying. Let's see. Did it look like, let's see, Vader just standing there and Kenobi escaped? Did that look like a rather poor shot scene and all that stuff to you?
Maybe a little. You know, I also kind of wondered, because I know the showrunners have said this isn't like, I know they mentioned that this is still technically Vader on his ropes of becoming the Vader we know. So I wonder, this is just me speculating here, I wonder if there was still that small aspect of Anakin that held back. Very much like how you had Anakin hold back a little bit during Rebels.
Part of me, let's see, well,
again, I'm just speculating. I could be
I don't think that is the case, given how the next episode shows how really angry that when Kenobi escaped again. But that's probably spoilers for a bit for that. But yeah, I'm just thinking that the shot, they didn't make it look like the scale of the fire was too much for Vader to try and not push it away with the Force or try and attempt to go after. I think that was probably the issue with the budget and the angle and all that stuff. So I think that's what caused that. But anyway, I suppose moving on to Tula and the path and all that stuff. What did you make of all that stuff? What did you make of the character Tula and the whole secret organization called the Path that helps Jedi escape and all that stuff? What did you make of it?
I think she's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at first, I was a little reserved. I was like, she says she's good, but then, like, when we got to the secret base and everything, and we got to know more about her, I was like, okay, she's fine. I don't know. What about you? How did you feel?
I thought she was a pretty cool character. And I thought she's an okay character. I mean, I'm not like emotionally invested, but I do know some people might be starting to ship her with Obi Wan Kenobi. So
you know, that thought did cross my mind. As I was watching those episodes, I was like, I would not be surprised if people started shipping the two of them.
Now, granted, let's see. Now, granted, if she tries to flirt with him, I wonder if Obi-Wan will just like, nah, Jedi way, Satine, blah blah blah. But
I
who
mean,
knows?
who knows? Maybe Obi-Wan will be like, you know what? Anakin broke the code. Why don't I do it?
Now, granted, this will probably lead to some having, let's see, a theory about Kenobi having a secret relative and all that stuff. But interesting enough, Obi-Wan, we did get an insight into Obi-Wan's family a bit when he ended up talking to Leia earlier, where I forgot to mention where he did mention that he met, let's see, when Leia asked him, do you remember your family? He remembered his parents a bit, and he wondered if he may or may not have had a brother.
That's a controversy I heard of too. I heard people like throwing a huge fit about the like, what does this contradict everything? I'm like, hey, he said he might have. He wasn't sure about it. That's the thing.
Now, some are making wonder if that means they're going to be a secret Kenobi relative down the line in Star Wars years later.
I mean, according to Kathleen Kennedy, I know there are plans to do another trilogy after Episode 9, so we'll see.
Well, who knows? Well, if they end up doing another Kenobi, that might cause controversy to those of Star Wars fans that rather not keep doing lineages, but who knows? but it might just be more of a reference to the fact that in the old expanded universe, they said that Kenobi did have a family and a brother on some planet that was an acronym for his name. But
yeah, so it could just be them just paying homage to.
well, speaking of which, there's quite a few bits of homages early and all that stuff. Like I said, possibly Quarren's father among the Jedi, and of course Quillen Vos.
Yep.
For those who do not know, Quillen Vos is a Jedi character that was very prominent in the Dark Horse's Star Wars Republic series of comics, which he was a character based off of a background character in the Phantom Menace. Let's see, and the character who had quite the interesting story arc throughout the Star Wars comics. That so much that George Lucas took an interest in the character and was even going to have him in Revenge of the Sith, but being wiped out with Order 66, but prevented that from happening, and only just had him mentioned in the film, and told the comics not to have Quillen Vos be killed with Order 66. As instead he had plans to do something with him for the Star Wars TV show that he was developing at the time, Star Wars Underworld. Now, granted, which Quillen Vos has appeared. Granted, luckily for Star Wars fans, Quillen Vos remained canon due to the fact that he did appear in at least one episode of the Clone Wars before it got cancelled.
Only one.
Yeah, so granted, he was supposed to appear in at least two sort of connected story arcs with amounting to 8 episodes with Ventress and all that stuff called Dark that ended up being adapted into the novel Dark Disciple, and it's sort of like the sort of Clone Wars / canon take of, let's see, Quillen Vos's journey from the comics and all that stuff, but swapping out a few characters like Asajj Ventress for like the love interest in the comic and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'm pretty certain most people would probably find the comic version to be better than the Clone Wars Disney version, but that's what it is. But yes, but Quillen Vos is about, and who knows, it means that if at the very least, Quillen Vos has still got a good chance of still being alive. Now, anyway, time for the final bit for the episode 3. Let's see, Inquisitors, particularly the third sister. They sort of had the bit of the background in the episode a bit, but we do get a bit of insight on the third sister with her motivation from what Vader claims to be as her becoming the Grand Inquisitor. We see a bit of her rivalry with the fifth brother a bit, who we learn is actually the one that's supposed to be next in line to inherit the role of Grand Inquisitor.
Which I think is kind of amusing given the timeline of Rebels. He's still kicking in that timeline, so...
Yeah, so either the Grand Inquisitor... Let's see, now granted, either Disney... This is one of the major controversies of the episode, is the fact that... Or Kenobi in general said, they killed off a character before he's supposed to die. They've ruined the canon of Star Wars. What's supposed to be canon now and all that stuff, though, granted.
I mean, look, if Darth Maul can come back from being sliced in half in Phantom Menace and bringing it back in Clone Wars. Pretty sure there are ways to bring back Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, I think one of them said like, oh, the Grand Inquisitor, due to his alien race, might have more than one stomach or heart or something like that. And that's why he survived. Though whether or not we will see the Grand Inquisitor again in Kenobi and all that stuff remains to be seen. But we do know that Disney is going to have to some point address this because, well, this will be a major continuity error.
I got a simple explanation. You want to hear what it is?
What?
They clone him. It's not the best thing, but it's one thing where you're like,
I'm not sure if they should. I'm not sure if the Empire should be this successful in cloning Force sensitives at this point.
You're right. Otherwise, I might just open up a whole other can of worms.
Let's see. I'm just going to assume that he's presumed dead, but somehow managed to keep himself alive, and eventually will come back. But who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah. But I do like the sort of rivalry we get between the third sister and the fifth brother, where they're each trying to one-up each other and informing Vader before one another and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I know that many people have criticized the fact that with the third sister at the end of the episode with Leia, is that we're getting another Leia chase scene and all that stuff, which for some people that was the only problem they had with the first episode. The chase scene and all that stuff. Granted, this might have probably happened. This might have probably not have been a problem if perhaps Kenobi had a few more episodes in between the kidnapped Leia one and then being chased and all that stuff. Like in episode 2 of Obi-Wan trying to train, or maybe even having flashbacks of Anakin Skywalker, if you will. Anyway, overall, how would you give this episode a score, Lucky Chi?
Probably the same rating as I did last week. So around, it's close to episode 1. No, not even close to episode 1. Maybe close to episode 2. So 18 plus, I would say.
Let's see. Well, last time I ended up giving them like 10 out of 10 to both episodes. This one, I'm going to be a bit of a 9 out of 10. I mean, for the most part, I enjoyed it, but there are some nitpicks in the effects department and choreography that
I do agree with that. Yeah, that's where kind of my nitpicks come into play too. Like really great, it's amazing, but there are some points where I'm like, yeah, you could probably work that a little bit better, personally.
But yeah. So anyway, on to the next episode, which, fun enough, has perhaps become the most controversial episode. And depending on who you ask, let's see, even some of those that have liked the show so far find that this episode being the weakest one yet of Kenobi.
I'll go ahead and address this. Just to get my thoughts on this. I do feel like it is the weakest, personally. Now, when I say that, I'm not going to be super negative about it, but compared to the first 3, it does feel like it's weaker compared to them. But what do you think, Blue?
Well, I'm going to give my thoughts more into after the summary thing, in which we end up cutting up from last episode, where Obi-Wan is being recovered by Tula and the repair droid, which I forgot to mention in the last episode, had a quite nice moment where he's been interrogated by stormtroopers but can't talk and all that stuff, and had a little bond moment with Leia for similar reasons. But yeah, they've managed to get him off the planet and to the planet Jabrin, which, for those who might not know, was perhaps one of the early Dark Horse Star Wars Republic storylines that they did at the beginning of the Clone Wars, and which was one of the bloodiest battles there. Resulted in like one of the heaviest losses for the Republic, and the death of quite a handful of Jedi, including Padawans.
True.
But yeah. Now let's see. So many people thought there was going to be maybe some references of flashbacks to this event, especially when Obi-Wan gets into the Bacta tank. But instead of flashbacks, we just got panels of like shot by shot of Anakin and Obi-Wan. One's body parts focused together, such as like Obi-Wan's burnt hand, where like for Vader there's no hand there at all. Seen some of that stuff that Obi-Wan ends up coming out of the tank after a while, asking what happened to Leia, where he has learned that he's in this place called the Path. And let's see. Let me just Damn, I left my phone. There we go. And he ends up meeting these, three workers called, these three staff members called, hold on. Roken, Wade, and Sully. And all that stuff. Wade is apparently betrayed by Ryder McClellan and all that stuff. While Sully is betrayed. The woman is portrayed by someone called Mia Eskin. I'm not sure if they're well-known actors or just minor stunt doubles that got a chance to be on the show, but the main one is a guy called Roken who leads the operations here. Who is trying to help, smaggle, Jedi and Force sensitives around the path and all that stuff. After losing his wife to the Inquisitors and all that stuff. After Obi-Wan asked him what does he know and all that stuff about losing someone important. When at first, they're a bit reluctant to help him until they decide to okay, we're going to help you and all that stuff. And they reveal the schematics to the Inquisitor Fortress and about how it hasn't got any shields up and all that stuff because no one would dare attack it and all that stuff. With Obi-Wan and Tula ready to go and try and rescue Leia, with hoping that Tula's undercover, rank in the Imperials is still intact. Meanwhile, we're cutting to Leia being interrogated by the third sister, lying to her that Kenobi is dead. The rebels or the Path rebels have abandoned her, and she's the only friend she can have now. Even taking away her droid and all that stuff. Trying to break Leia down and trying to get her to talk and all that stuff. Anyway, Obi-Wan and Tula end up arriving on the planet. Granted, Obi-Wan going to the underwater bit while Tula goes through the front door, if you will. Now, intimidating Imperial Inspector Guard about her clearance and all that stuff, threatening I have information for the Grand Inquisitor. And him not wanting to anger an Inquisitor, let her through. She eventually finds a communication area to talk to Obi-Wan as he ends up sneaking his way through, trying to avoid security droids. So eventually he finds an amber prison thing where it's revealed what the Inquisitors have done with all the pretty Jedi and Force sensitives that they've been collecting on the thing. They've trapped them in these sort of amber-like cocoons that are like a tomb for them. And we see quite a few interesting background things. One may or may not be the Jedi Master that helped Ahsoka Tano find her lost lightsaber. A few others may have been some of the citizens captured. One of them might have even been implied to be the wife of that Roken fella from earlier. And one, much to Obi-Wan's horror, is a Jedi youngling.
Younglings. I'm sorry. I had to have it once.
But yeah, as the Inquisitor and his third sister ends up trying to interrogate Leia a bit more, she ends up revealing more of her background about how she used to have a droid until it was taken from her, and trying to persuade Leia to reveal the location of the rebel thing. But Leia tries to play along and tries to assist, possibly, I think, a forced mind thing and all that stuff. Eventually, it makes it look like that she's about to tell her, but says that first you got to speak to their father, since we're all on the same side, apparently. However, the third Inquisitor finally had enough of Leia's act, tells her that you had the chance to do it nicely, now they're going to do it the hard way, and has her taken away for torture and all that stuff. As Obi-Wan tries to continue searching for Leia and all that stuff. Meanwhile, Tula gets interrogated by an Imperial officer, which she ends up strangling and all that stuff behind the scenes things. I should also probably mention that Obi-Wan also probably maybe also strangled a stormtrooper, or even made him left his body to be drowned in the water in which he escaped.
Yeah.
Eventually, Obi-Wan needs Tula to cause a distraction from the third sister, so he can go rescue Leia. When just about Leia's about to be tortured in the Imperial chair, if you will, another Imperial officer ends up telling the third sister that they have some urgent business thing. Hold on a second. Let me just get a drink. As the stormtroopers are left to guard Leia and all that stuff, Obi-Wan causes a bit of blackout. Force Awakens 2 trailer style, ends up slicing a bunch of stormtroopers, though not as the hard maim from like the last episode, more like what they did with Jedi Fallen Order.
Yep.
After you fight stormtroopers. With Leia happy that Obi-Wan is alive and all that stuff. Let's see, as Obi-Wan tries to get her to escape. Hold on a sec, Lucky Chi. I'm just going to quickly get some more water. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Meanwhile, the third sister, or Rev, if you will, has met with Tula, who says she has some information to report about Kenobi and Leia and all that stuff, and the pathway and all that stuff. However, the third sister ends up suspecting her to being a spy, and Tula tries to save face by saying that, of course, she's a spy. She's been a spy for the Empire by infiltrating the pathway, and says that let's see that the rebel the force sensitive helpers the paths on Fulcrum. The Inquisitor thinks that she is lying still, or doesn't fully trust her, decides that, you know what, best to take her to interrogation. But before that can happen, Kenobi and Leia get spotted by a probe droid and all that stuff, setting the base off as she chose to go in pursuit. Though not long after, Kenobi ends up contacting Tula, which results in her doing hand-to-hand bit of combat with some stormtroopers, and also shooting them. Sorry. Eventually, Obi-Wan and Leia go to a hallway scene with with the water, with where you can see like the ocean from outside and all that stuff.
You okay?
Yeah, I was just blowing my nose. As encountered by Imperial stormtroopers, the probe droid. With one of the Imperial stormtroopers led by a Death Trooper, because those who know the Death Troopers, at least the original ones, were clone troopers that were produced just after the end of clone production line and all that stuff. And other ones that still had Order 66 still stuck in their brains, so they were being assigned as traditional Jedi hunters, if you will. The Inquisitors, shock troopers, if you will. First appearing in the second Darth Vader series that takes place between Episode 3 and Episode 4, or at least up until Vader gets his castle. Anyway, after a bit of a footy, Obi-Wan trying to block as many of their attacks as he can. A bit of a glass breaks and all that stuff, with him having to use the Force to hold it. To eventually, he uses the Let's Go, and as the Force pushed the other glasses to cause all the other stormtroopers to drown. Obi-Wan and Tula try to have them and Leia escape and all that stuff by trying to hide them in sort of like an Imperial coat. However, and they managed to walk past the fifth brother and the fourth sister, who were furious at the third sister for this failure and all that stuff of letting the rebels escape, Obi-Wan Kenobi escape, or causes lockdown and all that stuff. However, just as Obi-Wan, Tula, and Leia are about to leave, the third sister has caught up with them. We are confirming that she now knows that Tula is a traitor and all that stuff. let's see, they're surrounded by everywhere by Imperial officers and all that stuff. However, just in the nick of time, the Eagles, I mean snow speeders of the pathway, or the path rebels, if you will, end up shooting down the base, wiping out many of the stormtroopers and blowing up quite a few of the fuel tanks, giving enough time for Obi-Wan and that lot to jump into one of the speeders, while the one with Waden tries to fend off the third sister for a bit before trying to escape. With the fifth brother's orders, ends up using the Force to throw at Wade's speeder, blowing it up, killing him, much to the dismay of his comrade Sully, who was upset and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have with the rebels. With them eventually. The remaining speeder arriving with the main transport, where Roking is clearly piloting. Happy to see them again, but then goes "Where's Wade?" and all that stuff, and then realizing that he's dead. With Tula says, "I guess you're all now soldiers," since earlier they said they're not soldiers. With Leia coming to trying to cheer up Obi-Wan and tries to warmly embrace him by her trying to hold his hand and all that stuff. Meanwhile, cutting back to the previous episode, back to Imperial base, Vader comes storming in, furious with the third sister that somehow managed to let Kenobi escape, and warned her that if you had let her go and all that if you failed him, there would be consequences. However, she's managed to buy her way out of this by saying that, I can still track them and all that stuff, by revealing that she has put a tracker, somewhere on either Leia or Kenobi that allows them to, where they go, the tracker will follow, they will be able to follow. With her saying that they'll lead us straight to, the base of hiding and all that stuff. With Vader letting her go with the Force at this point, decides that it seems like he may have underestimated Reva and all that stuff. And then Lucy decides to trust her again with this one thing, much to the protest of the fifth brother, but however warns her that if she fails, she will suffer the consequences. And it's revealed back on, the transport that Kenobi and Leia are on, is that Lola, who had been force grabbed by the third sister during that time, seemed to have planted a tracker on the droid, revealing it to be, I guess you could say, the spy or the tracker, if you will. Practically so.
Which, truth be told, I've kind of had my suspicions about that. I was
well, the homing beacon, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah. Ending the episode. So this one, for many people, has been regarded as the weakest episode of Kenobi, and depending on who you ask, this is either the worst episode that Disney has ever put out on Disney Plus or television in general and all that stuff, or just some people absolutely hate this episode. Even some of the people who have managed to enjoy Kenobi have not been even if they may like this episode, may not have been enthusiastic, if you will.
I think the thing with this episode, I'll say this. One of the issues I think I could see with the episode is that it was relatively a straightforward episode. Go in, get land, and get out. I think that's where the issue was. There wasn't a lot going on.
As the standard rescue mission in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was.
The standard tropes, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to.
Which, sorry, go on.
That's my take. What do you think?
I think that's the case, and now, granted, I think some people might be able to excuse it, but I do think that some of the effects and some of the ways how they've done some of the stuff was kind of poorly executed and not that filmed well, that it put people off and it killed their suspense of disbelief. For example, the trench coat bit was pretty much the thing that most people found, regardless of whether or not they liked the episode, as to be extremely cringy. It's how is that no one noticed that. You're going to be one of those be right backs, Lucky Chi, or am I going to have to keep talking? 1 more second, fine. So yeah, that was pretty much the main controversy I've seen. Some people have did not like that coat thing, thinking like how no one was able to notice, especially when I think the fifth brother was walking past them and all that stuff. So yeah, I have to admit I'm surprised that many people didn't end up looking a bit of eyes and all that stuff with them on that scene. Though granted, if it was me, I would probably think like, okay, if you're gonna do that, probably best if you had put Leia in an empty cargo crate kind of thing and on some sort of transport thing and make it look like you're trying to make a delivery to a shuttle. That's probably what they should have done just to make that scene look like, okay, cliche, but it works, if you will. I think if they did that, that'd be much better. Other complaints I probably had about this scene is when the third sisters exposed their identities. In the background, you just have a bunch of stormtroopers and other Imperial officer agents walking about. It's like, you're not stopping to turn and face Kenobi and all put him at a gunpoint and all that stuff, like they get with the droids. The droids in episode 3. I mean, granted, because some of that could be a little drawn because you got some people sort of walking about just when everyone should be having their guns about on Kenobi. I'm not sure if that was just reused footage or something of the backgrounds, or granted, they could have made the situation maybe a bit more desperate and dire if perhaps they had them all trying to run out of the way as everyone's pointing guns at Kenobi. So there's that bit. So yeah. One thing I found this episode did that was, oh, why are you coming back like a cheer? It's 1 second and I'm trying to think of what else to say. Or at least need a break to say things, but okay, not nitpicking and going on. One thing I think that they definitely missed an opportunity to do is actually do a flashback in the beginning scene when you had Obi-Wan and Anakin in the back to tank thing, which I will admit I did like how they paralleled each other of the wounds and recoverings and shots certain parts of the body and all that stuff, but I feel like they missed a sort of opportunity to try and show a bit of the Hayden Christensen Obi-Wan flashback while Obi-Wan was in the back to tank, because they did that with Boba Fett. It's particularly the first 2 episodes, well, first 3 episodes technically. But yeah, but it's mostly with episodes 1 and episodes 2. I'm the perfect chance to have some, flashback scenes of Anakin and Obi-Wan either bonding or maybe fighting some battle in the Clone Wars or something, and they missed the chance to do that. But oh well, that is what it is. Other thing that I found, which I think was probably, probably true to complain of, that that I think I can understand, especially with effects, is the effects of the speeders. I mean, that was quite the Lord of the Rings eagle style moment, if you will. But yeah, instead of the eagles, it's the speeders. And now not to mind, but I feel like the effects on the speeders were really, really weak. It's it wasn't well shot and all that stuff as well, to be honest. But Which I guess that might just be the general problem with the action scenes. Now, granted, I will admit the best action scene was probably the hallway with the blaster thing, though granted I've even seen some people complain about that, but I thought for the most part it was pretty good. When you're coming back, look at you. Wow. So yeah, I found that best. Now, granted, let's see. As for like the Rebel Pathway people, there isn't really much to get invested with them. I mean, granted, we do learn a bit about like the leader, the Roken, who doesn't really want to share too much resources and helping Kenobi, but I mean, I did find it interesting how he talks a bit about I did like the bit of character he had about how he's doing this to help as many Force sensitives as he can after his wife was taken, as no one knows what happens to those Force sensitive after. But let's see, I was trying to make Wade's death as dramatic as possible and all that stuff. Well, on one hand, I can understand like the Pathway lot caring about him because they're probably about that because they've been comrades in arms and all that stuff, but we audience didn't really get much time with him. Perhaps this might have helped if perhaps Kenobi had like an episode 2 where he's interacting with these Pathway, the Path group and all that stuff. We'll come back. So there's that, but and again, I'm sort of glad that there was at least some form of casualty for like Kenobi trying to break into the Retzi Inquisitor's headquarters and all that stuff, because it's like a too easy escape cover thing. Let's see, would probably not sit well with Star Wars fans. So then again, I've seen many people complain about how the entire scene on the Inquisitor's headquarters was like a poor recreation of, well, a lot of Easter eggs to like Jedi Fallen Order and all that stuff, final level and all that stuff, but I feel like Jedi Fallen Order did it much, much better. Which, to be fair, I could probably say I probably to an extent agree. I mean, granted, the budget, didn't seem to be really handled, like I said, doesn't seem to be handled well compared to like some of the other episodes. And it seems like the choreography wasn't up to par for this one. However, there are some things that I did end up liking. For example, I did find it interesting about how the Inquisitors have kept all these Force sensitives in the sort of like catacomb tomb thing, arguably the ones that will not join them in their ranks and all that stuff, because all Inquisitors like fallen Jedi, all that stuff. So it's interesting that they might have like a few Jedi in those like amber things. I think I've seen some people say like was Mace Windu in one of them, but that might just be some theory on that part. The only ones at least we know is like this youngling and maybe the old man Jedi from like the Ahsoka lightsaber Lost episode. Now, for many people, this episode seems to be like, oh, this is proof that Reva has finally taken a bit of the spotlight, which I think is a bit ridiculous and all that stuff, because Kenobi has been the main focal point, with Leia possibly being the main secondary character, though granted, Reva has been a bit more of the spotlight in terms of antagonists when everyone was expecting more of Vader and all that stuff, with her being the bit of the warm-up. Though I did like... I did feel like that this episode, granted, some people probably still don't like her character, but I did feel like we got a bit more of a clever side to her here with the way she, ends up mocking Leia, lying to her, trying to goad her into revealing information about where the path is and all that stuff. Lying to that Obi Wan Kenobi is dead, trying to get rid of all the hope that she has because she's confident that Obi Wan will come to rescue her and all that stuff. But granted, many have now questioned, given the fact that Leia, has been such a pro Jedi thing in this storyline. It's like, how did the Empire not know? She was not a Jedi sympathizer or rebel stuff at the beginning of A New Hope, but I'm pretty certain that this kidnapping is off the record, so they can't really do it. They wouldn't really make this exactly public and all that stuff. So yeah, I like how she tries to break Leia, and then tries to get her saying like, "I'm your only hope you have," and even giving a bit of insight to her in her younger days and all that stuff about how she had a droid and it was taken away from her, which I think this is more and more pretty much confirms that yes, she is that. She was among those younglings from the Order 66 scene. All that stuff. But yeah, we just now have to have her directly confirm it, or maybe even a flashback, and maybe this is when we'll finally get to see the Hayden Christensen's slaughtering Jedi. Maybe even those younglings that Obi-Wan and Yoda found. So yeah, I liked that, and I liked how she wasn't entirely fooled by Tula's information bit about how, like, okay, I'm pretty certain you are a spy and all that stuff. But yeah, or like, even just in case, I'm gonna take you to the interrogation room. And then did the clever move of putting a tracker in Lola so that, them and the others can, and like, them and Vader can end up pursuing like Kenobi and all that stuff with them. But granted, I will admit, I really like that Darth Vader scene where Leia's like, he was so angry, he's ready to choke her and all that stuff. Though granted, many think it was a bit out of character for Vader to not choke her and kill her straight away, but I think he was like, okay, again, the fact that this is a lead to Kenobi, and if she might have something else to say that can help them find him, he was like, okay, I'll let you live for now, at least. It's interesting how he says that it seems I have underestimated you, and Silence is the fifth brother. When he tries to protest and all that stuff. Oh, jeez, come back. Right, look at you. So it's like, okay, so it's like she's clearly now on her last chance, and I'm pretty certain she will end up dying by Vader's hand and all that stuff. Once she has her final failure, if you will. So yeah, I liked a bit of the play between that. Other than that, what else I liked? Yeah, I like the moment where Leia, ends up holding Obi-Wan's hand after they've escaped with their lives, and that Wade fella ended up dying as a way of trying to comfort him. I also like the bit earlier where Leia just has such confidence that Obi-Wan will come to rescue them, and so relieved to find out he's still alive after the third sister ended up saying how after the third sister said that, lied to her saying that Obi-Wan was dead and all that stuff. a second. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, giving more of my thoughts on the episodes and all that stuff. Let's see what else is there to tackle. Okay, Tula and all that stuff. Yeah, this is a complaint I will admit, is the fact that the sort of intimidation bit. Though, granted, I'm like, okay, I'm pretty certain that guard should have known that the Grand Inquisitor was reportedly dead, unless somehow the Grand Inquisitor's still alive somewhere on the Imperial base. But that makes a bit clear. But either way, it was one of those cheap things of like Tula saying that. Ooh, let's see. Let's see. I am a higher-ranking officer for you. Are you trying to disturb my information to the Inquisitor and all that stuff? Though, granted, she might have tried to defer to the third sister, who may or may not be being treated as an acting Grand Inquisitor, depending on who you ask. Though, granted, that still should probably be the fifth brother. Let's see, and when it came to like the scene bit where the Imperial officer another Imperial officer ended up asking what she did to the bridge thing. I'm surprised it didn't draw too much noise with the beating him up and then strangling him around the neck thing. But I guess, but who knows? Now, granted, I will admit I did find the fight scenes with her and the stormtroopers to be a bit weak. Especially how she ended up breaking out and all that stuff quite easily, but or just the way it was shot. I mean, I'm not against it, but I feel like it could have been a bit more better. I think, at least the very least, Marvel, even with their worst choreography, at least, ends up doing a much better job with in that fight scene. Let's see. Hold on a second. I'm just going to quickly just message Lucky Chi. Oh boy. I'm going to be waiting here a while for Lucky Chi to get back, and I feel like I have to keep blabbering in my mouth or it's like complete silence. What else there to say? Oh yeah.
Sorry for the wait, Blue.
1 second. 1 second. You were literally gone for 20 minutes.
I know.
I literally had to give my overall thoughts by myself, trying to think of like, okay, what did I think of this episode? I've literally given them all by myself, trying to think of things.
It took a lot longer than I expected. I'm sorry.
Well, now that I've given them pretty much all my thoughts, might as well ask you what you thought about certain bits and what you thought. Okay. The fight choreographies, what did you make of it?
They weren't bad.
You thought they were bad?
No, I said they weren't bad. I thought they were pretty decent.
Let's see. I earlier said that the hallway bit was like with Obi Wan, I think was the best, though I found the one with like a Tula fighting the stormtroopers to be a bit weak.
Definitely.
Okay, what do you make of the speeder rescue thing? DX Machina, the Eagles are coming, or
Bit convenient. I'll say that.
yeah, and to be honest, I feel like this is where the effects really start to look a bit weak, as I felt like it didn't really look that good, to be honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, perhaps maybe we should go more in detail of what you thought of this episode instead of me just asking you just one random one-on-one questions, so I can take a break from my mouth.
Well, I'll keep it short. I did open up and say this was probably the weakest episode. Having said that, though, if I'm to give it an overall rating,
not just narrating yet, just bits and pieces you liked so far and dislike.
I mean, even though it was, typical Star Wars thing of like a simple rescue mission, I did like how Obi-Wan was trying to hold the water back, and then kind of seeing that, okay, he's not as, on his prime like he was during the prequel trilogy. So it was cool seeing him struggle as opposed to
not to mention
how he usually is.
Not to mention there was a scene earlier where he was trying to use the Force to grab a little small object to practice earlier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's that too.
Were you disappointed that we did not get an Hayden Christensen flashback thing with the back attack scene?
I was a little disappointed about that.
Because I'm not sure if you know, but the first few episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, whenever Boba Fett was in the back tank, we would get a flashback montage.
This is true.
Where have you actually watched some of the episodes of Book of Boba Fett?
Some bits and pieces of it.
I'm surprised because I figured you'd be trying to watch it by now because it's like Mandalorian season 2.5. And trust me, you're probably going to want to watch it, especially episodes 5, 6, and 7.
I'll look into it.
Let's see, you might want to do that before season 3 arrives. Because trust me, episode 7, because trust me, if you don't see episode 7 before the next trailer arrives, you're going to get some spoilers.
See?
Anyway, no, seriously, go watch it. You can complain about the episode's qualities later, but still, you got to at least watch episodes 5, 6, and 7. Okay, what did you make of Vader's rage moment?
I like that a lot. I'll say that. That was pretty cool. But terrifying, ultimately. It's very fitting for Vader. It's rare to see, but it's fitting.
Did you think it was out of character for him to not kill her straight away, as some people have complained?
Somewhat.
Yes or no? Was that a yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a little weird, I'll be honest. It's like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Okay. What did you think of the tomb scene?
I thought it was cool. At first, I was like, I didn't feel like we got so much insight on it. But then once I figured out what they were going to do today, I was like, oh, okay. That's what it is. Does that make any sense?
Fair enough. And what did you make of the third sister and the Leia scenes? Did you think they worked for you, or do you think that? Because depending on who you say. Because for me, I feel like these were some. This episode was we actually got a bit more of a better insight to the third sister and all that stuff. But
yeah, I did like that, how we got a little bit more insight on the third sister.
But I think some people found that okay, she's just not that intimidating, or are you just fine with her?
I mean, it did feel a little info dumpy, I'll admit.
Okay. Granted, how do you feel about the whole droid stuff with Lola?
I kind of saw it coming.
You saw that one coming.
Mm-hmm. I kind of had a feeling once episode 3 started. I was like, I feel like something's gonna happen, and then,
Granted, I thought she might have put a tracker thing similar amount to Obi-Wan did with the Slave 1 in Attack of the Clones, but no, it was a droid thing and all that stuff. But granted, I've seen some people, a bit of controversy with this, and wondering, like, okay, is this where Vader gets the idea of putting a track on the Millennium Falcon to
Maybe.
follow to Yavin Base and all that stuff? I mean, it might have been where the origin of this comes from, but who knows?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think other than that, I think that's pretty much all we've got for the episode, I would say.
Wow, blimey, I spent 20 minutes trying to bring all my thoughts, and all you have is a few bits and pieces to say.
Yeah.
You
Again,
left me hanging.
the episode was pretty simple. I don't know what else I could add than that.
Fair enough. Well, I guess fine. Let's see. What you gonna get? Overall score? What'd you give it?
Well, I did say this was probably the weakest episode, so probably good plus to grade. Me, I'd probably stretch the grade, maybe, but it's my stretch. So probably like 7.5 to 8.
Yeah, I'd probably be around the 7. Probably around the 7 out of 10, maybe 8, depending on my mood and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on one hand, let's see. Granted, it'll probably be regarded as the filler episode of Kenobi, and granted, it has probably the weakest effects, and perhaps some of the more ridiculous scenes and questionable scenes. I mean, the biggest one I think that most people found cringe was the coat scene.
Yeah.
Did you find that one a bit unbelievable?
It
Kill a little suspense.
maybe a little suspense. I'll say that.
To be honest, I think I said earlier that I think this would have worked better if they had her hide in a crate or something, and they're like making it look like they're transporting cargo.
You'd think.
Yeah, the other bit is once the cover's been exposed. I will admit I did like Tula's line. That's like, this was never what I was. I found it a bit weird how some stormtroopers were only pointing their guns while some were still walking about like it was a normal activity. I'm not sure if that was some sort of background effect or something. But you'd think like every Imperial stormtrooper and officer would be pointing their guns or moving out of the way quickly to not be pointing guns at in that scene. So it's like, yeah, the effects, I feel like, okay. For those complaining about the effects being weak in episodes 1, 2, and 3, well, I think I think there might be a bit of a stretch. Now I'm starting to see it a little bit here. It's like, okay.
I think the real testament's going to be episode 5 and episode 6.
Yeah, it's like if the effects on how, let's see, if they perhaps mostly focus the budget all on the effects on those episodes, I might be able to forgive this one here, but still.
Yeah.
But due to some of the weak effects and maybe some moments that could have been handled a bit better, all that stuff. Let's see, like character decisions and all that stuff, or like when they actually do the actions. As some of the timings feel like, okay, this should have gone immediate response. So yeah, it's like a 7 out of 10 for me. I mean, granted, some people probably say, oh, it's below a 5 out of 10, because I've seen some people really hate Kenobi, and some call it really medcore or something like that, saying like, some of these people are giving, let's see, Kenobi a free pass and all that stuff, and it's just allowed Disney to do more. But at the moment, I definitely say I don't hate this episode, but it's one that I am.
It does feel like the odd one out of the 4 episodes we have so far.
Yeah, it might even be a 6 out of 10 episode, but to be honest, but but I guess I'm just in sort of a good mood and all that stuff today and all that stuff. But yeah, but it's definitely the weakest. But at least it seems to be building up towards the final act. Though, granted, I'm not sure if you heard some of the controversy with the possible season 2 happening.
That I think it'd be better to save our thoughts on that after we get episode
5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, depending on what we hear, it's apparently episode 6 ending and all that stuff has been altered a bit so they can do a season 2 and all that stuff. But yeah, I guess we'll probably just wait for that. let's see, but yeah, overall, I definitely say first 3 episodes, I'd argue, are pretty good to pretty nearly perfect to great. With like this fourth one being the first mishap.
Definitely.
And it probably doesn't help with the fact that this is at the moment, let's see, a limited 6-part episode series. I feel like perhaps if we had maybe like a few more episodes in between, maybe some episodes where an episode 2 of Obi-Wan trying to train a bit, maybe more of him bonding with Leia before another capture moment that happened. And maybe him spending more time on the planet Jabim, interacting with those Pathfinder groups thing, and even some of those episodes being more of like some of the flashback scenes that people wanted. And maybe then people might have given a bit more pass because of the amount of time that's gone between these and all that stuff. But yes. But yeah. Overall, let's see, I pretty much expect 5 and 6 to be joint together kind of thing. As I'm pretty certain that the tracking will lead to like Vader, finding the pathway thing, but who knows. Overall, so far I enjoyed Kenobi, though like I said, the last episode's a bit of a mishap and all that stuff. Even though I did like some moments like Obi-Wan and Leia bonding, I guess Obi-Wan and Tula teaming up quite well and all that stuff. And finding the tomb thing with the Jedi and Force sensitive to be rather interesting. Also Vader's rage, but yeah. Overall, that is all I have to say. Thank you for joining me, Lucky Chi, and I guess I'll see you for the next one, though please do not take breaks midway through my stream again.
I'm sorry.
And don't take so long to get ready and all that stuff, but I guess we'll hopefully be on the weekend. Overall, I am Blue Star Saber.
Lucky Chi.
And we are signing off. Goodbye, everyone.
And he will die.
Oi. Let's see, and may the Force be with you.
Revenge is coming. That's all I'm going to say.
And with that happy note, goodbye.